Listen to them until you've made a concerted effort to get rid of the uhs, the ums, whatever kind of like prepositions you're using to speak, because you want to speak fluidly, especially on stage, and we are on a stage right now essentially. So for me, that's one of the biggest things it's done is I feel like I'm a very good public speaker. I can be fluid with it. I can be entertaining. I know when to pause. I know when not to pause. That kind of thing. But then most recently, I've just had some amazing guests on the show, and that's why I really love the Monday morning show. For instance, I had a gentleman on it about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had already been thinking about doing what he convinced me to do. It was in the back of my head, but I could tell like God needed to send me this guy to say this thing to me in order for me to go, okay, I'm going to do it.
Today's episode of My Podcast Story, we have Lance Cayko, the co-host of the globally recognized podcast Inside the Firm. His show peels back the curtain on the architecture and construction industry, offering candid insights on business, innovation, and entrepreneurship. But Lance isn't just talking the talk. As an award-winning architect who co-founded his own successful design-build firm during the 2009 recession, he has lived it. He's here to share his inspiring journey of turning real-world experience into a top-ranking global podcast that's shaping the next generation of builders and designers. Tell us your name and the name of your podcast and what your podcast is about.
Yeah, my name is Lance Cayko, and my podcast is called Inside the Firm Podcast. It was started in 2017, so 8 years ago. And my business partner and I started it because we had got to year 7 of owning, operating, and running our own architecture firm. And most businesses fail in the first 7 years. And we got to year 7 and we said, oh my God, we haven't failed yet. We should tell our story so that maybe it will inspire other people and they will be inspired to start their own businesses, whether it's an architecture firm, a construction company, real estate development firm, or anything in between, or even tertiary to that. So we would record a episode every Friday to begin with, and we did that for about 5 years. And then I added another show to the mix, and we started recording on Mondays. And those episodes are called Monday Morning Coffee, the Inside the Firm. The Monday shows, I interview business leaders, authors, all kinds of anybody I kind of want on the show or want to pick their brain. We've had some pretty famous people on the show. And the Friday show is just Alex and I going inside of our architecture, construction, and real estate development firm and really opening up to the world and explaining how we did it, how we're doing it, and how we're continuing to try to do it.
Wow. Oh, okay. So you guys started the podcast to kind of like document and share your journey with other persons who are interested in the stuff that's that you guys are doing.
Yeah. Yep. Precisely. Exactly. And we get a lot of fan mail now. So we're almost 700 episodes deep. 8 years later, we're one of the top architecture podcasts in the world, and we get amazing fan mail. I get a lot of direct messages and private messages from people on LinkedIn and Twitter, all over the place, and emails, phone calls. Sometimes they show up to the office in person. That's a little scary, but it's overwhelmingly positive. And for instance, last week I got 3 pieces of fan mail, and one of them said, "Thank you so much for what you do, for just giving an inside look, pun intended, inside your firm and how you guys started, how you're doing it, how business tips." And then they ended with saying, "You inspired me and my wife to start our own business." And I was just like completely flattered and floored.
Wow. Yeah. Currently, your podcast is between you and your friend and your business partner, right?
Yeah, the Friday shows are just Alex and I. They're about a half hour long. We're talking about everything that's going on in our lives in terms of the business. We don't name names necessarily, but we talk about some pretty tough stuff. The first time we ever had to fire somebody, we talk about how difficult it is to hire people, how to keep people, just various interesting struggles and triumphs that go on throughout the business.
Yeah. The other show you started, how far, like how old is that one? The Monday morning in the Inside Fame. That's pretty long name.
Yeah.
How old is that? Yeah.
How did it start?
How
Is that the
old
question?
is it?
Oh, how old is it? Okay. Yeah, exactly. That show is about 3 or 4 years old. So they're under the same podcast, Inside the Firm podcast. If you go to insidethefirmpodcast.com, you can find it all and all that. But the Monday show is called Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. And basically, the idea is I'm interviewing business leaders, other entrepreneurs, friends, sometimes my wife interviews me, and
Yeah.
the idea is to broaden the audience because architecture is a smaller community. It's not as big as the entire business world, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of overlap that happens. So I really wanted to
Yeah.
just learn from other people who run other kinds of businesses with that show.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Okay. 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 I don't know if I'm the one that is not paying attention, but how did you say it is?
The show?
The Monday
It,
morning. The other, the inside the film, you said it's 8 years old now.
yeah. Yeah.
So this Monday morning, I heard everything you said. You
About
told us how you got started, why you started out, but I just didn't hear the age of the podcast.
Yeah, the age of the overall show was 8 years old, and
Okay,
then the
yeah,
Monday
I got
morning
that part.
show appeared 4 years ago.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So
Okay.
currently, are you guys audio only or audio and video?
We do YouTube, yeah. So we transitioned about the same time that we started doing the Monday morning show to doing audio and video. So we're on YouTube. You can find and follow us there, and you can watch us. It's pretty fun. Or you can just listen terrestrially on, traditional audio, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How's the YouTube going? I like, what are the numbers? What does it look like currently?
Well, YouTube is tough because I'm also a professional fisherman and I have a fishing channel called Fishing with Lance. And so
Wow.
there's two YouTube channels, right? And what I'm noticing is if you have to pay to play at this point for YouTube for your reach
Seriously?
to really to really go anywhere. So we don't spend any advertising money on YouTube with Inside the Firm, but I have started spending money with the fishing show to try to get it off the ground. And as soon as I started throwing $100 at it a week to get subscribers, then I was instantly gaining 150 subscribers per week or more, as opposed to 10. So that's how YouTube is, in my opinion, right now. And
Wow.
what the
Wow.
trick is to try to get a big base of subscribers, and you have to have a couple of videos go viral. That's really the key.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I feel that that thing is an art. It's something that can be, is a science that can be learned. You can learn it, and those that you see creators that know this thing over and over, you see their videos keep getting views, and how do I put it now? You notice the day they started their channel, and you're like, this guy, he has 200 subscribers, and then for all of it, the next thing you're like 11,000, and it's not like they went like magically viral. Usually they're in a niche topic, and they're creating videos. But you just like, I don't know if you watched the YouTube channel where you are like, once you click on the video, you watch the channel, you're like, I can't believe this guy is still at 500 subscribers. What's happening? What's going on here? I thought this guy is a famous YouTuber because the way they made the video, the way they did everything, you're like, no, no, this guy is a big YouTuber. And over time, usually within maybe 2 to 3 months, 6 months, they get to maybe 10,000, 20,000 subscribers. So I feel like that YouTube is something that if you learn it, you would reap the rewards. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to stick with it. We don't know what goes on in the Google machine at any level and
Yeah,
what their levels of consistency they're looking for, subscribers before they maybe take the governor off of you. Where like a governor, like a motor, right? Where they make it so you can't go fast. And if they start
yeah,
pulling, yeah, like I'm kind of suspicious that something like that is going on.
yeah,
I don't know because
yeah,
I don't know if you ever heard the word astroturfing, but the word astroturf means that somebody is catapulted into fame when maybe they shouldn't be. And there's like people behind the scenes that are like pushing them out in front, and it's like, why do I
yeah,
care about this person? Why are they famous? Maybe you think wisdom, like, or I do. I'm like, I'm better than them. Like, I'm more fun. I'm more entertaining. Why, stuff like that. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, wow, that's, yeah. I'm still in the works of figuring out YouTube and testing things and seeing what works. Hopefully, if I hit the jackpot of the secrets of YouTube, I would let you know.
yeah. Text
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's nice to, because YouTube has a ton of, like, it's one of the after Google, it's like the biggest in terms of and I feel unlike Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, the people on YouTube, they have this intention. They are there to learn. There's this intention to learn, and they have this desire. They can watch maybe 1 hour, 2 hour stuff compared to Instagram. Like I'm like, why would so like nah. They don't even allow you to post long form stuff, let alone watching stuff like that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
that's it. You bring up a good point too. Wisdom is like, I have a cameraman who films me with all my fishing adventures, and then he does all the editing, and we call it TikTok brain. We think society has been damaged with TikTok brain, so they can't even handle long form video anymore, and it's hurting
yeah.
YouTube. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think people's attention spans are even worse than they were, prior to TikTok.
Yeah. For me, my own theory, and I have not. It's more like a hypothesis because I've not I've not done any experiment to verify that. Is that people go to each of the social platforms with an intention. If someone is on TikTok, what they are going there to do is just to scroll and consume some stuff for 15 to 30 seconds. They're not looking to watch maybe 1 hour podcast or stuff like that. No, they don't have that intention.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is on YouTube, there is an intention. It can be the same person. Like I know how the way I consume content. If I'm on Twitter, I know why I'm on Twitter. It's different. If I'm YouTube, like the expectations are different and the way we behave is different. It's just like a normal person, for example. If you're in business environment, there's a way you behave and do things. If you are with your kids, there's a way you
Mm-hmm.
behave. If you are um in family gathering, there's a way you behave. It doesn't mean that you're acting or pretending. It's the same person, but there are different expectations, different environments.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky, right? And then you got it on. It's like, and we do both. So I mean, I think the trick is, so like with our podcast on YouTube is, well, now we have to do a long form video, and each week we have to at least cut and edit one short reel, and then that goes on the short platforms plus YouTube,
Yeah,
and you're trying to balance the two because we're dealing with both.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yes. I mean, there's so many channels and so many things that we could. The At the end of the day, the thing I keep saying is, my goal is to get my message to the world, but podcasting is what is the medium I chose to do that. So it doesn't mean that if I can be on YouTube and get a lot of persons to watch my content, I'll gladly do that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the message is more important than the medium, and yeah. So yeah, what you mentioned that you get a lot of fan mail, and and I know this might sound like I'm asking you to pick to choose your favorite kid, but the question is a little bit different. Which, which of the of all the family you've gotten, which ones are the top three that that kind of stuck with you that you just can't forget?
The episodes.
No, the fan mail, the fan messages you
Oh,
get.
yeah, the fan mail. Well, I mean, the most recent one, which was telling us we inspired them to start their own business. I think that's probably number one. That's just a real easy one to answer with that. Then there was we got a surprise visitor once who came to the office, and I wasn't here, but Alex was, and he went and talked with him and showed him the office and stuff like that, and there was the same sort of story. It was like, hey, I've been listening for you guys for like years, for like 3 or 4 years, and I was listening while I was working with for somebody else, and you just totally convinced. One day I can't remember what you guys said, but you just convinced me to quit my job, start my own business, and become a free person where I make up my own rules, time, all that kind of stuff. Those two are pretty timely. We do get some hate mail, and sometimes I want to point that out as maybe a favorite. It's okay if you get hate mail. I think I like Winston
Yeah,
Churchill had a good quote. It's like if you're not, something about you need to make it like you're not really making a difference if you don't have you're gonna make some enemies. Like at some point, if you're making a
yeah,
difference in the world, you're gonna make some enemies.
yeah, yeah,
And this story is so my business partner actually got this email. So we have a majority male architecture firm. We have 9 employees, and 8 of them are males, and then we have one interior designer. We do have another, but she's a female, and then we're having another. In the past, we've had up to 3 or 4, and it fluctuates, and it's all over the board and everything like that. even though most of our clients are female, but whatever. We're on the show, and me, Alex, and I, and Alex gets some hate mail like the next week. We don't even know what we said. But this gal from Canada, she had an all female firm, all female, no males whatsoever.
Wow.
And she
Wow.
says, and so she writes to Al, and she's very angry. She says, at first, I was very excited to find your guys' podcast. It was exactly something I was looking for because we just started our business and I thought it would be very helpful. But as I looked into you guys more, when I went to your website, I was just so mad that we were an all male. And at that point, we were an all male firm. We didn't have
Yeah.
any ladies at all. It was like only a couple years into the show. And Al goes to look at her website and he goes, well, you're all female. Like, how come you don't hire any males? Like, you
Yeah.
can't have it both ways. And that
Yeah.
was just kind of funny because it's like I think a lot of
Yeah.
people let their emotion get ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean the logic itself doesn't make sense. It's not like you guys have you if I mean if you had let's say you guys were talking about something that was predominantly regarding women, right? It will make sense that okay, a woman should be talking about, let's say you're talking about childbirth, right? It will make sense that a woman, a company around that kind of thing should be talking.
Sorry
The
about that.
audio.
Something in the background there.
Yeah, yeah, it will make sense that it should be a woman. But regarding when it comes to a company, you guys aren't hiring because you like, oh, if it's a man hired, and it's more like, okay, who are the people that we want to get on our team? Who are people that have the merits, the skills, and stuff like that
Yeah.
to be on the team? And then it just so happens that those guys are guys. So
Yeah.
if they were late, it would have been it would have been good. When you started sharing that hit, what ran through my mind was I can remember when I was in school. Oh,
There goes your light we were
oh,
worried about. It's okay.
yeah,
I could still
yeah.
see you, wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. I can remember when I was in school. In my class, I studied in electrical engineering. So in my
Yeah.
class, I think we out of about 200 students, we were about there were about 5 to 10 ladies.
Hmm.
So if you imagine if you wanted to hire out of that pool, the tendency to have higher male candidates is just so high. And I don't know about the architectural field, but in engineering, we have more males compared to ladies.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think wisdom is. Here's what I say is I say the real bigots and the real racists see sex or race first before the rest of us do. And it's very
Yeah,
telling when like if that's what they're worried about when they first talk to me, it tells me everything I need to know about them, right? Because
yeah,
like that's
yeah,
not what I'm about is, going out of my way to start criticizing other people in the public sphere and writing
yeah,
to them and pointing those things out. That's kind of my take.
yeah, yeah. No, like of all the guests I've had, you're kind of like the one that has half hates male. Yeah, most of them they like, I've not got no hate mail. For me, I feel that it takes a lot of energy to send any type of mail, whether hate or fan mail. And if someone is willing to go out of their will to to send a hate mail, for me, I'm just like the dedication.
Yeah, dedication.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Because I,
Exactly.
I, I know I see a lot of companies where they are doing some certain things. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to take out time out of my day
Yeah.
to now to message them. And I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
like it's not worth it.
It's not exactly. I have a rule for myself is I only leave positive reviews. So like on
Yeah,
Google Business, like if it's a kick ass business, I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I'm going to if I'm so happy with what they've done for me, then I'll leave them a review because I'm just carrying like the positive energy through, right, to its final like destination. But I don't do the negative stuff because I'm like, it's not helping them. I'm just gonna think about it. Like I'm taking negative energy is so sticky and positive energy is
yeah,
not. It's hard to keep positive energy like going. It's sort of like a ball. If you're just bouncing it around and juggling it, that's positive energy. Whereas like negative is just like if you walk into a room with 10 people and everybody's laughing, but everybody can sell like you have a bad look on your face and you're carrying your body in a certain way. You will take down the energy of the whole room. that for positive
Yeah.
people. That's how powerful and bad it is. So yeah, much the same.
Yeah. Um, the question I want to ask now is, you one of the things I believe is that as a podcaster, the things we work on, right? And this is regarding business and self-improvement. If you do a business for 10 years, that business would as much as you're working on the business will work on you. This podcast you started, how has the podcast kind of like changed your life personally? And
Yeah.
yeah,
So one of the biggest things it's done is it's helped me become a better public speaker. And I've always had that life goal of just being a better public speaker. And because you listen to yourself, like it might sound
yeah,
sleazy to be listening to yourself, but no, I encourage
yeah,
everybody who wants to become a better public speaker, whether they are doing podcasting like we are or not, but especially if you're going to do a podcast, is listen to your first 100 episodes. Listen to them until you've made a concerted effort to get rid of the uhs, the ums, whatever kind of like prepositions you're using to speak, because you want to speak fluidly, especially on stage, and we are on a stage right now essentially. So for me, that's one of the biggest things it's done is I feel like I'm a very good public speaker. I can be fluid with it. I can be entertaining. I know when to pause. I know when not to pause. That kind of thing. But then most recently, I've just had some amazing guests on the show, and that's why I really love the Monday morning show. For instance, I had a gentleman on it about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had already been thinking about doing what he convinced me to do. It was in the back of my head, but I could tell like God needed to send me this guy to say this thing to me in order for me to go, okay, I'm going to do it. And what I had been thinking about doing was I'd been thinking about like praying the rosary every day. So I'm a Catholic, and that's
yeah,
one of our practices. And this guy came on the show and he was telling me about his morning routine, because I love hearing about people's morning routines. Successful people seem to have their morning routines down pat. They're very regimented about it. They're very serious about it. They're very dedicated. I'm one of those people. And he said part of his routine was he's within the first 15 minutes he's praying. He's dedicating his like that first part of the day to God. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I've been doing it almost every day since. So for 3 or 4 years, I use like a little app to help me do it, and it tracks me. I think I'm on like a 21-day streak right now. I'll miss every once
oh,
in a while. I just can't help it. Um, but stuff like that. I've had other authors on the show who, one person, he wrote a book called um, Train Your Empathy. Or no, it was a gal who said train. I think it was a gal. Train Your Empathy is the title of the book. And that's one of those examples where like halfway through the interview with her, I downloaded the book and bought it on Audible because I was just so convinced of this book. And that book changed my life immensely. So the way it did is my first wife would confuse sympathy for empathy. She would tell me all the time, "You don't have any empathy." And the older I got and the wiser I got and the more people I worked with, as like an employer, as a teacher at 2 universities, as a podcaster, I run a nonprofit, all these things. I was like, it seems like I have empathy. Seems like I try to seek to understand what other people, their motives are, so I can help with them achieve their goals because we're a team and all these things. And that was one of the most beautiful parts about the book is like they first break it down of the difference between sympathy and empathy. And they make it very clear that
yeah,
like sympathy is not feeling sorry for other people or having pity for them. And that's me. I don't feel sorry or have pity for people, especially for those who like don't want to help themselves become better. And then it gave me the empathy definition, and I was like, yeah, I have like a ton of empathy. Like I wouldn't be able to function in all my businesses and what I do if I didn't, because I have to understand what people are thinking and their motives are, and I'm always trying to like understand more about them and what and how we can solve their problems. That's pure empathy. So that was a really good one. Those are some of the like self improvement things that continually happen, and then there's a phrase that I've been conjuring up as I do more guesting on shows like this, Wisdom, or I do my own show obviously too and talk to other people. And the phrase work life balance has always bugged me, and I didn't know why until one day on a show like this I said, well, what about work life harmony? Because when I think of work life balance, like a
yeah,
scale comes into my head,
yeah,
and I go, "Oh, we're trading one for the other. Is that really balance?" And I'm like, I like harmony better. Like, why can't we have a harmonious work life, right? So like, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you can make your own schedule. There's a
Yeah.
lot of days where, like, today is a pretty good day. Today's cool. We'll work from home Wednesday for our company. Everybody works from home except for me and Al. We're the only ones at the office, but I live right next door. So in between meetings, I've been tidying up the house, packing for my trip this weekend to Dallas for a conference I have to go to, getting ready for a fishing trip, like organizing myself, getting exercise the whole time because I'm going up and down stairs and everything. And I'm like, this is harmony today. I'm not balancing anything. I'm in a harmony. So those are some big things that have improved since I've been a podcaster.
Oh, oh. Hey, just a quick break. If you enjoying the insights so far and want even more behind the scenes ideas, inspiration, and tools for growing your own podcast, join my email list at mypodcaststory.com/join. That is mypodcaststory.com/join. You get access to helpful resources, exclusive updates, and the kind of stuff I only share with my email subscribers. Whether you're starting out or already podcasting, there's something valuable waiting for you. Head over to mypodcaststory.com/join and subscribe. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, it's that public speaking, you especially when you start in the early days where you have to edit your podcast. Like you basically, even if you don't want to listen to yourself, you will be forced to listen to the episode because then you have to listen to it to know where to cut or where to remove. And over time, you start noticing that I start the intro like this. I'm not supposed to start the intro like this. I'm not supposed to handle this like this. And over time, before you know it, you just start improving. And I mean, it's a system because you could say, "Oh, I want to become a better public speaker," but how are you going to do that? Uh, wow, yeah, yes. When you started your podcast, you wanted to document your journey, you wanted to share the business aspects and all that. So the question I want to ask now is, it's going to 8 years now that you've been doing the podcast. How has how is the podcast doing in terms of the purpose, right? Regarding to that, the purpose,
Oh,
the reason you started the podcast, how's the podcast doing regarding that purpose? You know?
yeah. Well, when we first started the show, what we had to do is we had to go back in time. Like we had to pretend as if we were starting the business again and telling that whole story again. And eventually we got
Yeah.
caught up. And then we started our first real estate development. And that took up a whole like year, 18 months of content. It was like for our dedicated fans, it was gripping content because we had a flood in one of the condos. It was like devastating. We were just like sad people. It was a very difficult project. It was just so brutal of a project. I worked 80 days in a row one day or for one stint trying to finish this thing and wearing all three hats, as an architect, a builder, a real estate developer is just it was so much work, but I don't regret it at all. And then, after that, uh, then we started the construction company. Like we really, really put some serious effort into it, and it's year 6 of its existing. So one more year to go, and we're officially out of the startup phase with that. And now it's a much more seasoned kind of. We feel like veterans, I think, in what we're doing. Like even the podcast, if you think about it, it's on year 8. It's kind of out of its incubation period too, and we're well established. So we feel a little bit more confident, I think, in what we're able to talk about, and I think that's a lot more helpful for our audience because it's less speculative. But the purpose is still 100% there, where we are giving an inside look at what it's like to run our different businesses and all the issues that you have to deal with, positive and negative, like employees. That's a big one, right? How do you train leaders? That's been a big topic in the last about year on the show. Is we we've had to make like a special little group inside the firm to talk leadership, and we're trying to put other people in charge of other people, and we're finding out like it's not as easy as you think. So business is like never ending is in terms of its what problems you're trying to solve and solutions and all of those sort of things. And especially if you're trying to be innovators like we are. I mean, we do try to do very interesting architecture. We try to be different than other architects, different than other builders, different than other entrepreneurs. We're just kind of a little different, and I think that's what always keeps it entertaining and worth listening to, even though we've told the whole origin story, plenty of times. And now we're just kind of telling the present story.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, when you guys started the podcast 8 years ago, what was the business like? Were you guys like, I don't know, you don't have to go into the specific numbers. Maybe you can say maybe six figures, five
Okay.
figures, eight figures. Because why I'm asking this question is, for those listening out there who might be saying, well, I'm not really, I don't really have anything to say. I've not yet figured it out, right? Over the course of 8 years, you guys have, documented the journey over in the business, and now you are at the point. Of course, you guys are still learning a ton, but in documenting your journey, you've put yourself in a position where you, by sharing your audio journal, you get to help other people. So what was the business? I would love,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
where
was
you guys at?
it was mid six figures is our was our gross
Ooh,
revenue when we first started the show. Yep, exactly. Like mid six figures. And but the amazing thing was then like the trajectory of growth we had after that. Now we're consistently in the last maybe 4, 5, 6 years. We're consistently low seven figures and steadily climbing. And if you add in the other businesses, the architecture plus the construction company, then and the real estate development company, that actually allowed us to win a pretty prestigious award, I believe, in 2020 or 2019. Because then all of a
yeah,
sudden it was like multiple six figure or multiple seven figures when you combine all of them together. Because you could with this company called BizWest, they basically hand out, they observe and work with a bunch of companies, private sector companies in Boulder County, Colorado, and northern Colorado where we operate, and that allowed us to get to that level. So, yeah, I mean that's what's kind of cool about the show. I think is that like if you start at episode 0, it's gonna feel like a startup to you. It's gonna feel like
yeah.
very nimble, nitty gritty, and we're young too. I mean, there was no beard at that point. I had much less gray hair. My voice was probably a
Ah,
little higher, yeah, and
yeah,
and then ever since then, there's been a lot more tears, there's a lot more blood, a lot more effort, a lot more sweat, and a lot more
yeah,
wisdom. A lot, pun intended there. Like it's like that's why, that's what I was trying to make that point in that for your last question, and the answer I was giving was that's, I think, the biggest difference is we really feel like seasoned veterans. I like to think of us as
yeah,
like young adults, like we're in our like 20s in terms of business years,
yeah.
instead of teenagers. I feel like we were kind of teenagers when we first started the show.
Yeah. When you guys started, you guys were like, mid six figures. Do you ever wish that you started earlier, like when you guys were like zero, still like thinking about starting, not even knowing what to,
Yeah, like do I just think about those times to try not to forget them?
yeah, no, like, do you wish that in those, like, you started the podcast when you were like zero, like
Oh,
when you started from nothing, you documented those points
uh,
till you got to like mid six figures,
yeah. I
Yeah,
try to not live a life of regret, and
yeah,
but it's a good question because now you're making me think. I hadn't really thought deeply about it until now. That's a very good question. In hindsight, yes, obviously it would have been great to like have the microphone on from day one, right?
yeah.
Um, I don't know if my lawyer would have agreed with that, but but uh, but why I like that idea is because I'll tell you what, Wisdom. This summer we have two interns coming into the architecture firm. One is like a high school student, and he just wants to. He said, "Hey, I actually just want 15 hours a week. You guys, I don't even need to be paid. Trust me, I'm good. Like my mom, I live with my mom and dad. I just want to like see what it's like to be in an architecture office." And I go, "Okay," because I don't have any work for you, but like any billable work, and I'm not here to take advantage of people and like have them do billable work that I would make money off of if they're
Yeah,
gonna
not
if
pay
they're gonna
them.
come in
Yeah,
and volunteer essentially. So what I'm gonna
yeah,
have him do instead is I've had this idea for a while. Is I want to You can download the transcripts of our podcast on from YouTube because they're all on YouTube. YouTube actually makes transcripts for you. And
yeah,
so what I'm going to have him do is I'm going to have him download all the transcripts for the Friday show and all the transcripts for the Monday show. And I want to use AI to help me outline and craft a book based on all of those conversations. Because that is one of the other reasons why we started the show is I was like, I just want to document this. This feels like we should document it. It feels like these stories are so good that it's a sin to like leave them inside of us. I just felt like
Yeah.
I was gonna burst. And that's one of the reasons we had to turn on the microphone. I was just like, I gotta talk about this because it's so being an entrepreneur is so freaking exciting. Like it is so exciting to me. I just think it's one of the even as an architect, I'm like, I don't know, being an entrepreneur is like just as creative. You could do so many
Yeah.
cool creative stuff with the business, right? Just like all different marketing ideas or like how to get a client. And then you get in trouble and you got to figure out how to get out of it. Who knows? It's all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, that's a good question, Wisdom, and I guess that would be my attempt to try to get back that time because like I said, when we started the show, we had to pretend as if we were talking. We just started the business at episode 0,
Yeah.
and we talked
Yeah.
about all that. Like we even referred to old emails and
Excuse me.
stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you that like I'm kind of thinking about that already in a way.
Yeah. When it comes, I love us to like let's talk about the money. Your show it came out of a place where you guys wanted to document your journey, and you guys found a way to like tie it into the main
Yeah.
business you do, and now you have two shows. Yeah. So the question I want to ask is, other than the it being a platform for you guys to build authority in your space, right? Do you have any other monetization um opportunities you've used the podcast, like ads,
Yeah.
sponsorships,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the rest?
Thank you for yeah. People usually ask that question in reverse. So I love that you asked it in your way, which was you you're obviously it helps you establish yourself as an authority in your space. Number one. That's like number one, right? So if
Yeah.
somebody literally Googles Lance Cayko, they're like, "Oh, wow, he's like 7 pages in Google deep. It's all about architecture. He's speaking in public. Like he must know what he's talking about." Exactly.
Yeah.
But the monetization stuff, we started going after uh, sponsors for the show in like our second or third year, and
Mm,
I always like need to feel confident before I go try to pitch people to hire me or work with me or something like that. Like I need some confidence. So for the confidence I was really looking for was like, okay, 5,000 downloads a month. That's where we need to be at. 5,000 a month
wow.
feels about right to me. So we did get to that. We finally got to that at about year 2 or year 3. And the first sponsors I went after were like huge, gigantic sponsors. Sponsors
Wow.
where there was like my business partner was like, it's a long shot. And I'm like, well, we're a long shot. Who cares? So for example,
Take a
Wisdom,
shot.
yeah, take a shot. Never know. We have had Dell, the computer company,
Wow.
Dell.com. Yep, Dell was a sponsor
Wow.
for a whole year. And what was awesome about them is like right behind me, my laptop that I'm recording on with you right now is a huge flat screen TV that they gave to us as part of the
Wow.
sponsorship deal. And that we're still using like 5 years later.
Wow.
That's where we present all of our work. They gave us 4 laptops. That was pretty incredible. We've had some building product manufacturers who just paid us money to read a copy every week. And our longest sponsor that has been continuous has been arccat.com. So those guys are just a huge backbone for us. They allow us to pay for a marketing person. His name is Bill. He's the one that cuts up all the clips and spreads everything around social media. And then the last one that is like very interesting is we do like we Al and I, since we're my moniker is serial entrepreneur. We have these other products that we sell. So a long time ago we made this package that teaches you online, teaches you how to basically use the architect software that we use. It's called Revit, and we sell that course online for like $400. And so we have our own ads that we write for ourselves for that. And because
Yeah.
other architects listen to the show, then they go buy the course, right, and teach themselves that software. Al has another course that's called buildabetterco.com. So he is a business coach. He'll read his copy every once in a while. Then we have another course that we sell. It's called architectsguide2.com. And that one is like if you're an architect and you want to also become a builder, we'll teach you how to do it. So we really like doing like vertically integrated businesses where like we have multiple businesses that work with each other and make us more money because they work with each other and the more money stays
Yeah.
in our
Kind of like an
pocket.
ecosystem.
An ecosystem, yes, exactly, Wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I just want to point out for those listening that your sponsorship, the sponsorships you did is not the type of ordinary sponsorships every other person does that where they read ads. It's more like a partnership with the companies because for them to give you guys that screen and all those other things, it's not the regular kind of sponsorship.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, it was unique for sure. Yeah. Because the typical ones I think Wisdom's talking about is where you get on and you start the show and you go, we got to pay the bills. And then you do a quick ad copy in your lead
Yeah,
form,
and they
right? That's way different.
pay you, pay
Yep.
see, pay maybe 1,000 downloads and stuff like that. That's different.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
So it's a,
Uh,
it's like we're giving a gift every Monday and Friday to people. It's free, right? You just got to go to YouTube and listen and, or iTunes. It's free. But the gifts we give back, we've already talked about a lot of them, and then there is this kind of one to cinch it all up of like, yeah, we do get paid to talk. It's pretty cool.
yeah. Wow. You said for you the mark was like 5,000 downloads. Oh, well, I guess yeah, when I reach 1,000 downloads, I'll start. I'm already making a list of my dream team, the people I would want to work with, and to come partner. I'm thinking of it as not sponsorship. I mean partners, people
Yeah.
who would believe in the vision, and I just need to give them small like something that okay, yeah, something we're doing something here, and they work with us for like 1 years and years to come.
Hmm.
That's the idea. I like that. I like that because you have a niche podcast, and
Yeah.
with the thing about I think someone said something that if you want to make money from ads or advertisements, that you either go hyper broad or hyper niche, that don't stay in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no money in the middle because when you talk about hyper broad, that's you're having like 1 million downloads per month, and then maybe if they are doing $10 per 1,000, you're making crazy amount of money. And then if you're hyper niche, the kind of audience you have very targeted, and so
Uh-huh.
when they are you can easily see these are the kind of people that listen to my podcast. Not well, my podcast is listened by women in their 20s or 30s. Who are they? What do they do? What are they interested in? Well, I don't really know. Yeah, you get so it's really hard for people to say, okay, is this a brand I want to partner with? Is this a brand I want to work with? Because now they don't know if the audience you have is aligning with the people that they are seeking to target. Yeah, wow. I like that case study. That's really fantastic. Yeah, wow. When you started recording your podcast, and it's a question I ask every guest on my show. Have you ever had a point where you kind of you started recording, and at the end of the episode you realize that the camera or the phone, whatever you were using to record, was not recording,
Yeah.
and you just spent 1 hour pouring your soul and your heart into this conversation, only for you to realize that everything is
Yeah. There's been about
oh,
10 of those. And like I said, we've got
10.
about 10, but out of 700, that's pretty good. Um,
Wow,
Sometimes
wow.
the problem is like sometimes the episodes are salvageable. But sometimes they're just it's like throw them in the trash. There's nothing that is nothing worth republishing here. The ones that are salvageable are when we have a little GoPro that we have going and videoing us at the same time. It picks up audio. It's not the best audio. It's not rich like this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's a little tinny, and I'm like, I guess we're publishing it. I guess we're
yeah,
publishing it, and we've done even as recently as a few weeks ago. This was happening because something happened with our mixer, and I was like, hey, why won't it pick up the mics? And then I had to hit two buttons. I'm like, oh my goodness. So we had two episodes in a row that actually came out sort of tinny is the word I would use. Then I've had some guests where it happened to them too.
yeah.
And I had to tell her name was Heather when she's on. She's a sweetheart. We're really good friends, but I had to just she like the episode passed or we recorded and she like 3 or 4 months went by. And I was like, gosh, maybe she won't notice that her episode didn't go live. And Heather's not dumb. Heather's super smart. Heather emails me, hey, are you ever going to publish my show? And I go, just so you know, the audio
Well,
is just
actually,
awful. Yep. So then she came
yeah,
up. Then she came up and we were going to do another. I go, come up and we'll just do it again. Let's do it again.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this time I told her, okay, one thing that would be helpful is if because she was going to show me this software for architects that she does. She was going to make a pitch.
yeah,
and she was supposed to record her screen so I could sync up the audio, and put like us in the corner down here or whatever, and that like
Yeah.
screen on screen.
Yeah.
She didn't record the screen, and I was just like two. I was like two in a
Ooh.
row. So it happens to the
Oh.
best of us. It really does. And like
Oh.
I used to
Oh.
listen to. I used to be a podcast junkie. Like I used to listen to a lot of podcasts. I actually don't anymore. But when I did, there was some of the biggest names you could think of where I'm like, your audio sucks, So I people got to give themselves a little grace. But yeah, think that's a good question, Wisdom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it happened the first time. It happened the second time. Man, you
I know,
lucky.
right?
Yeah, yeah. You had a great guest. If not, like, what are you going to say? Well, the guy is not professional. How can the first time I thought it was a mistake. Second time, no, 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 no.
I
The
know.
guy doesn't really know what he's doing.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, oh, it's important. People know that sometimes, we professional podcasters they make mistakes too, so that when such scenarios play out in their life, they don't beat themselves so much. They
Hmm.
just like, okay, it happened, and they move on. Because wow, and it's kind of there's a lot of pressure, especially when the guest is a guest that you really really respect, and is really like you know kind of like the big shots, and getting them on the podcast was kind of like it took me maybe 6 months of email back and forth before you eventually got them to agree on to come on the podcast, and then the day they came on the podcast, you don't have any social for it. But I mean, usually most persons are pretty much understanding, but as much as possible, don't 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 be in that situation.
Yeah.
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 Um, 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 Currently, I don't know if it's something you're not if you if you're not comfortable sharing with. The question I would ask now, if you're not comfortable sharing it, please just let me know so that I don't want to put you on the spot.
Hmm.
So currently, you've been doing your show for 8 years now, and you've been doing it consistent. You know, consistently for 8 years, and you'll be doing your second show now. Can you give us an idea of what your show is pretty niche, and I would consider your show to be a successful show in regards of the purpose it was created. Success is not some success is sometimes relative. You get
Yep.
it's not just something successful. It's more like, okay, what was the purpose the original creator had in mind, and for your show, it's successful considering what you had in mind when making the show. So the question I want to ask is, what are the download numbers like, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, sure.
But if yeah,
We average over 10,000 downloads an episode at this point. Yeah.
wow,
So,
wow.
or sorry, per month.
Okay, okay,
Um,
okay.
which for us that's good. So not per episode, but 10,000 downloads as a conglomerate per month is as where we're at a minimum. Sometimes we have
Yeah.
obviously way better months than that. Um, but here's the way I think about it too. Is I think about it, and this is even with like relates to sort of the fishing channel that I have. So sometimes I'll have videos on the fishing show that only get like a hundred views of the video that we made. Then sometimes the videos will get like 10,000 views. And the way I
Wow.
think about it is I think about the smallest number first, and I think that's just like me fishing in front of 100 people. Or in the podcast, if we
That's a
have
huge crowd.
that's a huge crowd. That's a huge crowd.
Yeah.
That's still a huge crowd. Exactly. When you think about the
Yeah.
physicalness of it, that's what when you're a young podcaster and you're just starting out, it's like, hey, just getting in front of a couple dozen people is a big deal. That's still public speaking. You're still influencing people. And obviously if you're
Yeah.
doing something positive with your podcast and hopefully spreading positive messages and influencing people in a good way and make inspiring them, just even if it's one person, that like it kind of is all worth it. What if that one person tells two people, right? And then you just can multiply and there's a butterfly effect. So I'm like happy that you're impressed with the numbers, but like I know some of my friends in the podcasting sphere who are a little bit bigger architectural podcasters than us, and our numbers are pretty
Wow.
small compared to them. And but I'm like, yeah, we have our own little audience. And again, I just always try to keep the humbleness and like the gratefulness in it, where I look at that
Yeah.
small
Like
number.
like imagine if you were a professor, right, and your class had 10,000 students that showed up every month. Man, you like, I'm just trying to like, or if you're invited to speak for a conference or a show, and you're like, okay, maybe, and you wanted to like use the capacity of the audience to like give them a bill for like your speaking engagement. I don't know. I'm not a speaker, so I don't know how they charge. And they're like, okay, I'm speaking for 10,000. Like 10,000? Seriously, 10,000? Wow, that's a lot, man. And
Yeah.
for me, it's not the fact. It's not just the fact that it's 10,000. It's the fact that they show up consistently for you every month, as long as you show.
Yes. Yes. You're nailing it, Wisdom. That's exactly the way you got to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing and for the, the full, the open book and everything. I really, really, I feel like that's one thing that I love person to get. One podcasting is quite discreet. If a podcast host doesn't tell you the numbers, there's no way you're going to like know that, okay, this is the downloads they're
Yeah.
getting or stuff like,
Yeah.
yeah. And, so, on a final note, what advice do you have for, podcasters who are just started out, just getting started?
Well, good. Yeah, great question. You should have, if you're going to start the show, you need to have at least 5 episodes like banked so that you have a cushion just in case you get sick and you miss like a week or something like that. Because what you really have to be is consistent. It is so critical for you to whatever your public recording and publishing interval that you've set for yourself is going to be. Like for us, it was once a week at the beginning. Do that consistently for a year. Like, do not miss a show because you need to keep your audience there and captivated and waiting for that. If you can get past 100 episodes, you're already in the top 1% globally for podcasts because and it relates again back to the consistency. It's most people give up in that first 100. If you can make it past that, just keep going. Don't look back.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lance, for coming on the podcast. Where can listeners learn about you and check out your podcast and basically what?
Yeah. Go to insidethefirmpodcast.com. You can find all the links there. We're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. If you want to link in with me professionally, you can go to linkedin.com, type in LANCE, last name CAYKO.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Like every guest I have on this podcast, like they just inspire me. They just give me different ideas, different ways to approach my podcast, different things I could possibly do with a podcast. Because each time I see a guest, I see them like a chef, and I am like, "What's your recipe?
Yeah,
what are you doing with food?" So I can experience some of the delicacies. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Wisdom.
That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I am Wisdom Okonkwo, and I hope this conversation sparked new ideas and gave you a deeper look into the heart of podcasting. If you've loved this episode, consider supporting the show by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq. Every bit helps keep the stories going. And hey, don't forget to follow, rate, and share this podcast with another podcaster or creator who would find it helpful. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.